All right, just starting with the injuries. Clark with the knee was out. Smith shoulder, Perryman knee, P. Ryan ankle, Lewis shoulder, May calf, Basham ankle, Jabari with the quad. Chumo was out with a non-COVID illness, and McDougal was out personal reasons. This is, I guess, officially our last day at camp. If you want to look at it like that. I think the players did a great job, staying focused. I know it was unusual training camp, a lot of walkthroughs, rep-wise when you look at it as the total reps. We probably had more when you include the walkthroughs, but obviously less of the actual live competition compared to what it's been in the past. No preseason games. But I thought the guys did a good job of using the time we had as effectively as possible. It was nice that we were able to kind of have the setup we had with how having the hotels as close as we had them. Kind of almost making that like a dormitory, buying out the whole hotel, which that was big for us. Just kind of had smooth transition on all that stuff. We'll kind of see as we get into the season where now guys can live on their own, and we'll maneuver that, and now we'll be able to kind of start doing meetings live in person, that's going to be something that we're going to be excited about. So with that, any questions you guys have?
Adam, I imagine you spent a lot of time thinking about how camp would be structured and how it would go from, probably from March when this all started happening. Did it go better than you expected? Was it about what you expected? And how would you kind of assess it now?
I think I guess the thing that I was thinking about the most before we actually got going was just everybody having patience with, hey, we're learning a lot as we go, of guys, players, coaches, staff members, nobody getting worked up when something didn't go as smooth as we wanted. And I think everybody did a great job of that as kind of rolling with the punches. Because, some of these protocols, they changed, they evolved over, the camp. There was changes early and then kind of in the middle. And I think everybody did a good job of understanding, hey, if something takes a little more time, we got to be a little earlier. If something changes, we're just rolling with the punches. And I think everybody did a good job of that. And it's when you're so used to the routine of training camp, which most of us who have been around long enough are, this was a big difference compared to what we have done in the past. But I think everybody did a good job of just adjusting and, avoiding any of the freakouts of, something changing drastically. Everybody just kind of rolled with it.
Adam, you said it yourself a minute ago, but now the guys are on their own. They're out of the hotels. So how much of a concern, if at all, they'll have different exposures now, possible. Are you concerned about positive tests?
I don't. It's hard to really focus on that. I guess it's just you're hoping guys do right. They understand the situation we're in. As a team, they know it just takes one guy. One poor decision, and all of a sudden it can affect a lot more people. There has to be trust there. We have to commit as a team to do the right things. I know some of it is uncontrollable, where you may be doing everything right, and it's just something that you couldn't avoid. It wasn't your fault. So, we just got to try to do the right things and put ourselves in the right positions, take the right precautions. So far, I feel like the guys have tried to do that. I think, the advantage of us being in the state we're in, where I don't know if there's really too much to do. There's not too many places to go. But, hopefully we can just keep, avoid losing anybody.
Adam, what's your plan for live meetings during the season? And I was curious, why didn't you guys have in-person meetings during training camp like other teams around the league?
Yeah, I think every team was different. I talked to a lot of head coaches over the spring and over the summer. Everybody had kind of different ways of doing it at different venues. Some teams were doing some virtual and some live. For us, I felt like this gave us the best opportunity to get as much out of what we were trying to do as possible. I felt like it was a good setup we have with the Archer being able to buy out that whole building and working from that area to where it wasn't a whole bunch of travel time there. We kind of have everything set up so when we do start the season, our rooms are all built to where they can hold a certain amount of people, and that's something that we had been working on for a while. When you're in training camp and you got 80, now all of a sudden you drop 11 guys off the roster, all of a sudden it changes to where now you have less people, the rooms work out better. So we have a better setup when you go to 69 compared to 80.
Do you think that puts you at a disadvantage for the regular season?
I didn't think so. I thought the guys did a phenomenal job with what we were doing. The walkthroughs were awesome. I mean, it's like having a meeting on the field. And I do think kind of the way that our guys engaged in the virtual meetings was, I felt like we got a ton of guys asking more questions than sometimes when you're live, where it's easier to nod your head and say you got it, and you might not have it. Where on the virtual stuff, I just felt like there was a better back and forth for whatever reason.
And what are these next few days like for you as a head coach? Making these decisions and informing guys that they're not going to be part of the team.
Yeah, it's the part of the business where it's not fun because guys have been doing, they've been invested in this, especially some guys not only over years of work. Some guys, that might have been their first year here and invested all this time since the spring, obviously in an unusual year. And now you have to tell them that, hey, we're going in a different direction. But there's a good part of it is there's some guys that, hey, when they make it, the excitement they have and you share in that. And that's a great part of it. It's kind of a mixed emotions. It's not always the funnest thing to go through, but that's kind of part of our job.
How much different do you think this year will be with the way the practice squad is set up now in terms of worrying about guys getting through waivers and just all the overall decisions you guys have to make?
I think that's real. I mean, you never know what's going to happen because with no preseason games, there's not really film on some of these guys. So guys will probably be going off of, if they're undrafted free agent or if they're a drafted guy where, you might not be able to slip guys through because they might just go off of what they had coming out of college. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how all this works out. I mean, this is uncharted waters for us.
Teams might be less apt to pick up players on waivers just because of the protocols. It takes a few days before you could actually get the guy.
Right. That's true. I mean, it could be position of need. I mean, you might not have a choice where it's like, hey, we need this many, whatever it is, defensive linemen or linebackers, and they don't have access to those guys. They didn't have them on, their roster was thin on it, and all of a sudden they snag one of your guys because they need depth. You just don't know.
Adam, how difficult is it to evaluate the toughness of players with no tackling and no preseason games?
I think you go off of what you've seen on tape before. I think you evaluate when we're doing kind of drills that guys are using the right technique. There's an evaluation part of it of you're using your best judgment. And you're going off experience of what you've seen, whether it be in college or professional football. So, it's an imperfect science for sure, but that's what coaches and front office people get paid to do is evaluate that and do everything they can to be right on those judgments.
We'll take a few more for Coach.
So, how do you guys plan on social distancing during in-person meetings? Are they going to be in the field house or existing meeting rooms at the facility?
Yeah, we're able to we've adjusted our meeting rooms a little bit to where we have things spaced out. It's kind of already set up that way. There are some times we're able to use the field house, not necessarily for meetings, but almost create the meeting on the field, which that makes it super easy to space everybody out. I think the key is really it's keep with our testing, making sure that we're doing the right things, wearing our masks, doing all those little details all right, so when we are in those groups, we're not taking any chances.
How has the revolving door at receiver impacted Sam's development this training camp?
I feel like he's done a good job of whoever's in there. I'm sure in his mind, I'm sure he's gotten frustrated, but he doesn't show it. He does a good job of whoever's in there. He's trying to, create some kind of chemistry there with some of these guys. Some of these guys, it seems like he's been working with for a little bit of time here since we have had some guys out for a while, and bringing in a couple new guys, and then him trying to work those individual periods and create some kind of chemistry with those guys, and just getting everybody on the same page. I do feel like there's been a lot of guys that have stepped up this camp.
Adam, kind of going back to what Rich asked, if you guys do claim somebody, it's going to take until like Wednesday to get them in here. So
Right.
How does that factor, and what challenges?
Yeah, it's hard. It's tough to wait that long. I mean, we saw what happened. You wait 3 days with Balaj, and then all of a sudden the trade gets reverted. And when we do the physical, so it's not ideal, but it is what it is. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. That's kind of the process that we have to go with. And like I said before, it's hey, we can either look at it as you throw your hands up and you get all upset over something that you can't really control right now, or you just kind of roll with the punches and then you make an adjustment and you just understand what we're dealing with right now, and we just have to be patient and try to do the right things.
Do you have like a even larger working list of players like that you would usually, in the past you guys have guys that that you might want to take a look at. Does that increase because of that? That if this guy
I think it's big. It's big already. I mean, you got to remember when the front office, that's all they do. It's nonstop. They're combing through guys, and they're always ready to go. All right, hey, if we have 3 injuries in one day, who are the next 3 guys? Boom. And I mean, these guys, this is all they do. They constantly are organizing this. They're pulling guys off, adding guys to the list. I mean, the movement on the waiver wire is usually so great, especially at this time of the year. I mean, these guys are about ready to have a ton of guys available to them. And, you're looking at multiple days of sleepless nights here where these guys are just combing through all this stuff and watching film and, calling position coaches, hey, take a look at these 3 guys or take a look at this guy. So it's always a crazy time because you're doing all these cuts, plus you're trying to get ready for the first game. And there's just a lot of things going on in that area.
Adam, with Denzel Mims, 2 things he needed to work on coming out of Baylor were getting off the jam at the line and his route running. So what kind of challenges that present for him entering the season that you didn't have a lot of time to work on those 2 things?
Right. This is kind of what I was saying before, where we got to expedite this process as quickly as possible. I will say this: I've been impressed with his route running so far, and now that's on air now when we're doing basically routes versus air. So I mean, I've been impressed with the fact that it looks smoother than somebody that I was thinking the same thing. All right, hey, we got to kind of open up his route tree and see what we can do with him. It's looked a lot better than anticipated. I think a lot of him watching and learning, and now when he gets out there, he has a picture in his brain of what he wants it to look like and paying attention to what the other guys have been doing. For us, it's going to be, hey, when we get him involved in practice of, all right, hey, how's it going to look versus press? What are your adjustments going to be? And we're just going to have to work throughout the season and make sure that we keep getting him better. I mean, this is not going to be a situation where game 1, all right, we're going to walk out there and expect him to have the full gamut down and be able to do all these different things. We're going to have to progress him the right way. And, hopefully as we get going throughout the season, he gets better and better and better.
Adam,
Coach?
Adam, how do you feel about having meetings in general? And are you guys going to be spending more on, these adjustments you're going to make that in-person meetings at the facility?
Say it again. I'm kind of...
I said, okay, 1, how do you feel about having meetings in general? And 2, is it going to cost more to, switch things up at the facility, maybe to have in-person meetings?
Well, for us, everything is, it was all about kind of number count for me. And plus I was dealing with a little unknown. This was my call to say, hey, I'm going to keep everything virtual and I want to learn kind of what's going on. Because I wasn't sure what was going to initially happen. Hey, were we going to have, one guy get COVID and it was going to spread throughout the team. You know, as we kind of moved through this thing, I was trying to learn as much as possible because I felt like I didn't know what was necessarily going to happen. And so that's why doing the virtual, we had a lot of success, I felt like, in the spring. So we continued that, and I felt like everybody supported us as far as what we were doing there. I think when we bought out the Archer, that was a big deal for me because it was like our travel time was so short. So when we scheduled everything, it wasn't like, hey, we need a full hour here so guys can get back and forth. I mean, we're back here in a minute or so, you know. So now it's like I feel like we have a good rhythm going, and now we can start doing things where we're meeting live, and I think we will be able to kind of schedule this the right way to where, you know, our classroom settings are all right. We can use our walkthrough times the proper way. I feel like I have a better feel after going through camp of how we can do this during the season.
Adam, quick on Rashad Perryman. No, I'm just kidding. How supportive has just two quick questions for you is the first one being, how is there excitement from you and from this team now that camp is over and you now have a chance to see another opponent, another team actually play this thing for real? And then the quick follow-up on that, completely unrelated, but just regarding ownership, how supportive have they kind of been for you throughout this entire process dealing with the pandemic and all that?
Yeah, I really, there is excitement. It's so weird to know we went through this entire training camp, we didn't see another team. So that was obviously, that's different than anything any of us have ever been through. So the fact that we know, hey, Buffalo's right around the corner, I'm sure they're feeling the same way. I think every team's thinking, man, this is going to be cool that we're going to get to play somebody else. We're not just going to see our own teammates. We're not going against them. We're going against a different defense, a different offense, different special teams. You know, now all of a sudden here comes the chess game part of it where, hey, what are we going to do? What are they going to do? What do they got new? What do we got new? Kind of all those things, and new players too. So, I mean, I think there's a ton of excitement there, not only for the coaching staff, but for the players, for front office, owners, everybody. And as far as, I think Christopher's been phenomenal. I mean, he is anything that I've requested, we've gotten. I mean, them buying out the Archer was awesome. I mean, I asked for that in the last second kind of deal where it was like, I don't know why we started having discussions about that in the spring when this was going on of, hey, let's create like a dormitory atmosphere. And then, you know, majority of the guys stayed there. Some guys already had houses. But like I said, I was trying to learn throughout this, especially training camp, of, hey, what was the best way for us to go about it? You know, I mean, all I can go off is the information that I was given, you know, as far as how does, you know, the whole COVID thing. It's like I've told you guys before, I don't know a ton about anything medical. I'm going off of kind of what I'm being told and trying to make decisions off of that. And we felt like the virtual learning was the best way. I feel like we got a ton out of it. I think our players did a great job of being interactive in it. And now, hey, I feel like we can take a different step and start doing things in person? Yes, I feel better about doing that now than I did, you know, when we started this thing. But I do think we got a great rhythm there with the virtual stuff. That's why we stayed with it.
We'll take one more for Coach.
Adam, do you like having meetings?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we do. This is all we do. It's nonstop meetings.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys. See you.
Thanks, Adam.